Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video we are going to be discussing software workflow when it comes to working with CNC robots. Now, in the past couple weeks it seems I've been barraged with questions revolving around clients and potential clients dealing with either a failed PC, failed hard drive, lost data of some sort, and I really wanted to do this video because I feel it's going to help many of you, especially if you're just starting out. I think this workflow that I've used for years, it really benefits us all because it does have data redundancy, and that's so important when you're a business owner and you find out that you've lost all your files and you're starting from the beginning. Nothing sucks worse than that. So this will definitely save you time. I know it will save you money because contacting me or anyone else, they do have to be paid for their time. I hope that you watch the video to the end. I'm going to make it as brief as possible, but there is a lot of detail to cover, so let's jump right in. First and foremost, I covered some bullet points here. All motion control PCs should have only a new installation of Windows and a version that supports compatibility with your selected motion control. Now, why am I saying that? Well, if you only have a new version of Windows in your PC, regardless of it being older or if it's a newer model, you want to make sure that you have the least amount of possible variations to cause any problems that you can have. And that means just the operating system. You are going to be allocating this PC for one of two uses, typically even a combination of uses, which would usually be motion control in terms of Mach 3, Mach 4, UC, CNC, and CAM software, or just CAM software. So keep that in mind. We want to start with a fresh computer, and fresh meaning that nothing has been corrupted, nothing has the possibility of having any registration problems. There is a lot of loopholes here, and we want to make sure that we are covering them all with keeping things as simple as possible. This is the easiest one to begin with. The next bullet point. All motion control PCs should have a new or newer hard drives 1 year or less old, regardless of the PC's age. Now, why am I saying that, guys? Because if you don't know the age of the hard drive in a system, the odds of it failing goes up exponentially. Okay? I have had numerous clients just this week, in both potential and previous clients, tell me they've had hardware failure. And I'm talking about hard drive failure. There's no real excuse for that today, and I'm sorry to say that there isn't. It becomes more a point of ignorance over the fact of taking for granted our situation with data. We assume it's always going to be there, but when it's not, it burns us tremendously because our entire business model, if that's what you're using this equipment for, which I hope you are, is driven around data. And we're using it in a capacity that's your entire livelihood. Take that for what it is and understand the gravity of what it means if you lose it. So again, hard drives that are over a year old, very easy to check. Open your PC if you're uncertain if it's an older model and check the date code on the hard drive. If it's old, you know it should be replaced mandatorily. Don't think about it, just buy it. It's super cheap and it will give you insurance that way. If it's a year old or less, you're golden. You know you're good, and that's definitely the way to start. So once we've got our motion control PC set up in terms of a new Windows installation, and we've dictated that our hard drive is less than a year old, or new for that matter, we're going to look here, and this should be done weekly. And I could care less about what workflow you're going because you see we have a second option of workflow here. First, we're going to discuss the workflow on the left because this is typically what most guys do. You can see I start out with this should be done weekly, and that's motion control software backup robot settings on the backup hard drive. What I mean to say, just to be clear, okay, is that all of your motion control settings should be validated through your backup hard drive. Now, Mach 3 will create a backup file itself. That does not mean an end user should not check to make sure that that back file is correct, number one. Number two, it does not mean that an end user shouldn't go back and manually create a backup, just to assure themselves of peace of mind that it was done on the backup hard drive. Why do I want a backup hard drive, guys? For those guys that are not familiar with PCs, you can install multiple hard drives in a PC, and by using a backup hard drive, meaning 2 hard drives installed in one PC, you have data redundancy. You would copy your backup on the secondary hard drive, and that assures that your data is always saved. Now, the big key here, regardless of what you were doing, is the fact that you set up a reminder to do it. Now, you can do it in Google Calendar. I can do a video on that if you guys like. Leave comments below if you're not familiar with it. I can also do it in different formats with, setting up a reminder on your phone. Guys do that all the time. These are things to think about that must be implemented to assure that you've got these backups always readily available, and they will save you an enormous amount of money. You're going to pay for 2 new hard drives in a solid state format, which is what I recommend for the most optimal speed. You're probably looking at maybe $100. If you're buying a 500 gig, preferably a Samsung, you're looking easily, $100 or under, and you have massive peace of mind with 2 drives. So think about that. Now we're going to come down, and you're going to see PC with CAM software and motion control software installed. So we have one PC here that's utilizing both motion control software and CAM software on it. So you're basically going to create your file in CAM, and you can see that here, design your product using vectors. We all know what that is, or should know. If you don't, you can Google it. It's very simple. And again, you're going to design your product using vectors. CAM software you're going to be using, I just put 2 examples here, Vectric or Fusion 360. And then we're going to come down here, and you can see I said create a backup of the CAM product file, and you use your backup hard drive. And again, all motion control PCs require a backup hard drive. Real simple. And this should be logical. If I have 2 hard drives, why not back up the CAM file I just produced? Now, not only do I have my backup settings for my motion control software, but I also have my backup settings for my CAM files as well, which means in the event that a hard drive fails, you've got that redundant data already set. The odds of having 2 new, and in my case, like I stated, Samsung hard drives fail. They have the lowest failure rate in the industry. To have them both fail in a symmetrical format is like getting struck by lightning, guys, for the most part. So I'm telling you right now, there is no reason not to have 2 hard drives, preferably the Samsung solid state drives. And then on top of that, no reason not to have both your CAM file and, again, the motion control settings saved. Final step is robots control software to machine vectors to create product/components, and that will be your motion control software, Mach 3, Mach 4, UC, CNC, meaning you're going to load the file from your CAM that you just created into your motion control software, be it Mach 3, Mach 4, UC, CNC, and once again, you'd set up the machine prior. Very straightforward. You load the file into Mach 3, and then you proceed with the machining of the actual component or product. Now, the second variation of this same workflow, not as popular, still done. Some different areas of caution I want to discuss. We've got here a PC with CAM software installed only. Okay? Why is that? Because this individual chose this workflow who is going to be using another PC stationed at the robot, whether it be his mill, his plasma, whatever it is, whatever that robot is, his router, he's going to have another PC there with the motion control software on it. So let's look at this workflow. Once again, you've created a backup of the CAM product file on your backup hard drive. Why is that? Because we just discussed pretty much the same workflow. Here's where things get iffy. This particular individual will be using a USB stick with CAM file transferred to from motion control PC. So what's happening here is essentially we are going to transfer that file we've created with our CAM software to this USB stick, and I'm putting right here, stop, USB sticks are extremely vulnerable to data loss. If you don't believe me on that, guys, if you get so much as a static discharge, that USB stick's data can be corrupted. So keep that in mind, and that is why, if you look right here, I said do the backup on the hard drive. Because USB sticks, they are inherently unstable. Think about this, and I've stated this before in many of my videos. USB motion controllers, same thing. It's amazing how the stability factor with USB is all over the place. You'll have a USB stick that works perfect. I can't tell you how many times I've had USB sticks lose data on me. So be careful. Stay with the backup hard drive scenario, and you know your files are 98.7% safe. I mean, other than that small variable. USB sticks, and a percentage, if I had to give it, I would say somewhere around maybe 78%. So just be careful with USB sticks. Anything can happen with them. This method does work, and it still works extremely well if you do the backup on the hard drive for your CAM file. So let's say then we move on, and we go over here to, once again, we're at the motion control software backup robot settings for on the backup hard drive. And again, why are we doing that? We're doing that at once a week. Once again, this should be done weekly for your PC motion control software. In this particular instance, I moved it down on the list, and the reason I did is because you could see the workflow is slightly different. You're using the USB stick first, and then you would come over here to the PC with motion control software installed. So this would actually be done in a later step format during the week. So you think about how you'd want to break this up. But overall, what we actually have here is data redundancy. And this is something that many guys don't think about doing, or like I said, they take it for granted. Hey, the data is there, I don't have to think about it. It's not going anywhere. And unfortunately, that's not the case. So again, we have to look at this. We have to really break it down and figure out what works best for you. I can tell you right now, if you implement what I've put right here, you will save literally hours of downtime. And not only that, the fact is, trying to recover your data, if you decided to do that, that can be extremely expensive and time consuming, and most of the time it just doesn't pay. I mean, you really, really want to be careful. I've had clients lose so many files. It's frightening. And again, then they have to pay me, and we'll go over the workflow. We'll set up the workflow. If I have to set up a hard drive for them, I can do that. I mean, we can go over everything, but the main thing here is you understand exactly what you're getting involved with. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, guys, it's one thing to be frugal with intelligence. It's another to be incompetent and having to pay even more because of it. Use your head. If you can't afford the second hard drive right now, hold off on doing your system. I can't emphasize that enough, because if you rush, you usually will end up shooting yourself in the foot later on. So start right, start on the right foot. I don't care if you're a hobbyist or if you're doing this in full-scale business format, which I hope you do, but you want to make sure you're staying again, with the best possible format with data redundancy and having all the resources available. And once again, using a backup hard drive and doing backups on a scheduled basis will assure you're always going to have the stability you require. So again, I hope that this video has been helpful. I definitely think we covered a lot of points. If you have any questions, if you need a consultation to cover how to set up a personalized version of a workflow, I'll definitely do that with you. And of course, it will be much less expensive to do it now than if we have to play Let's Pick Up the Pieces, because usually that's horrific. Message me direct. You'll see my information in the video description. Once again, I want to thank you all for your support. I hope the video has been helpful. Take care.